Imagine this, a blade rips straight through your chest, blood everywhere, your final breath, and right before you die, a cold digital message flashes. You are already dead, loading previous save. 3 hours earlier, an ordinary guy laughed at a mysterious woman's insane contract. Now the girl he trusted his whole life drugs him and raises a knife to harvest his organs. Death, reset, another chance, 1 billion players, time on Earth frozen, die here. And you don't disappear, you become a spectator while others fight for their lives. He is the only SS-rank player in the entire world, and he's not here to survive, he's here to break the game itself. Full story recap starting now. Do not forget to like and subscribe. A cold digital message flashes across his vision declaring that his future is over, because he is already dead and he cannot comprehend how this nightmare is happening. As a lethal strike tears through his chest, leaving him gasping for his final breath while his body collapses onto the cold floor in a pool of blood, he wonders if his life really ends here in such a pathetic and meaningless way, but his desperate hand reaches out into the void, refusing to accept this dark fate as the system initiates a world game loading sequence that defies all logic. 3 hours earlier, he wakes up with a jolt and his eyes wide open. Confused by the strange auditory hallucination, he questions if he has been working too hard on his videos until a mysterious woman asks if he is feeling all right. He dismisses her concern, claiming he just stayed up too late the previous night. She slides a document across the table, inviting him to join a real-life game that promises to change everything he knows about his mundane existence and reality. He reads the absurd terms of the contract and rejects the ridiculous setting immediately. Despite her persistent pleas for him to reconsider, he remains firm in his refusal. He stands up to leave, but she warns him about the dangerous path ahead. She smiles with a hidden agenda and tells him that he will soon return. He walks out into the street thinking the meeting was a complete waste of time and decides to head to a birthday party instead, but the mysterious voice returns to haunt him as the world game begins to load once more today. His strange warnings continue to plague his mind as he questions if he is losing his grip on reality while the news reports on a controversial dual heart surgery that challenges the very nature of human survival and ethics in this modern age. He ponders the dark implications of such technology and the social chaos it would inevitably unleash upon the world. Before arriving at his destination for the birthday party, he meets his former classmate who welcomes him into her home with a smile, but the atmosphere feels heavy and strange as he notices a lingering scent of incense filling the room while she insists that he waits for the others alone. He recalls rumors about her past feelings for him and wonders if they hold any truth as she leans in to ask about his plans after he graduates. He admits to having no real direction beyond his interest in psychology and peace, while she listens intently and shares her own deep desires to see the ocean and live a life of purpose as a journalist uncovering the truth of humanity. She offers him some homemade bread and he accepts the gesture to keep the conversation flowing, but he soon realizes that something is terribly wrong with his body, as a sudden wave of weakness washes over him and his senses begin to fade away into a dark haze. He realizes the bread was a trap all along and his vision begins to blur as he struggles to stay conscious while she watches him with a cold expression of regret as his strength completely fails him and he collapses into her arms, realizing he has been betrayed by her. As her cold grip tightens, she whispers that she wants him by her side. A chemical mist fills the air and his consciousness begins to slip away fast. She looms over him with a blade raised high, ready to end his life. This world glitches as a system error declares his failure and initiates a reset. He awakens in a digital void, wondering if he has truly met his end. Memories of the betrayal flood back as he questions the nature of this event. A menu appears before him, offering a chance to load a previous save file. His shock is absolute as he realizes the reality of this bizarre game mechanic. He contemplates selecting the earlier time to rewrite the tragic outcome of his death. With a desperate resolve, he triggers the load and plunges into the data stream. Reality shifts around him as he returns to the moment before the fatal trap. He finds himself back on the sofa and realizes he has successfully turned back. New holographic prompts materialize in his vision, revealing hidden missions for him to complete. This system outlines multiple potential endings, including a path where he might stay alive. He understands that this is merely a tutorial stage for a much larger game. She asks if he is lost in thought while the trap remains set ahead. She offers the bread again, but he now knows the danger hidden within it. He excuses himself toward the bathroom to gain distance and formulate a new plan. He analyzes the threat of the sedatives and the hidden spray while staying alert. Inside the room, he discovers a white coat hanging and wonders what it signifies. This white coat reveals a chilling connection to the vice director of the academy. A sharp chemical scent fills the bathroom as he identifies the presence of formalin. He realizes the danger is far more personal than a simple random act of violence. Stepping out of the bathroom, he prepares to navigate this lethal web of hidden secrets. This window offers a desperate escape route from the suffocating trap set by his host. He climbs onto the porcelain fixture to reach the narrow opening above the tiled wall. His fingers trace the wall where a hollow sound betrays a concealed storage space nearby. Behind the tiles lies a collection of surgical tools and a grim medical diagnosis notice. This document confirms she is terminally ill and seeking a dark path to extend life. Everything clicks into place as he understands the true motive behind her twisted, lethal game. She is desperate to survive and has chosen him as the subject for her surgery. Standing with a blade in hand, she reveals her intent to harvest his very life. This familiar fragrance from the living room now signals the onset of the toxic mist. Realizing the trap is already closing and he knows his time is running out fast, she stands in the doorway and mocks his discovery with a cold and hollow smile. This accomplice enters with a blade ready to finish the procedure regardless of the cost. His vision fades as the chemical takes hold and he faces another inevitable dark end. Reality shatters once more and he finds himself standing outside on the busy city street. This sudden shift leaves him breathless as he confirms his successful return to the past. A taxi driver calls out to him and he realizes the game has reset again. A persistent digital message demands his presence at a party he knows is a trap. He rejects the invitation and desperately seeks a way to return to his own home. Death has reset his timeline and he chooses a different path to avoid past horrors. Confirming he is the sole target, he questions if this deadly game is truly real. He probes the void for any sign of a system interface to explain his situation. A glowing blue screen manifests before his eyes, confirming the existence of a system. His status window reveals low stats and a world ranking that has yet to open. He stares at the glowing device, wondering who is behind this relentless and cruel pursuit. His messages continue to flood his screen as she demands to know why he hides. A final chilling command forces him to face the visitor waiting at his front door. He peers through the peephole to confront the woman who has been hunting him down. She smiles with predatory intent and calls out to him with a sickeningly sweet voice. He knows that hiding is futile, so he prepares to face the dungeon head-on. He opens the door to let her inside and begins his calculated counterattack plan. She enters his space with feigned innocence while he maintains a calm and collected facade. He offers her the bread he prepared, hoping to turn the tables on her game. She observes the meal and he realizes their preparations have mirrored each other with precision. She claims she prepared his favorites, but her words betray a hidden and dark agenda. He watches her closely and challenges her to consume the food she brought for him. She laughs and prepares to eat as the tension in the room reaches breaking point. This woman feigns embarrassment while sipping coffee, but he sees right through her act. He calls out her hidden weapon and the air in the room turns deadly cold. She drops the mug in shock as her entire plan begins to fall apart instantly. He lunges forward with a blade and forces her into a corner without any hesitation. She pleads for him to let her go, but he remains unmoved by her lies. Her body grows weak from the spiked drink as he demands the truth about others. She denies any accomplices while her vision blurs and her strength fades into the void. He reveals he knows the invitation was a lie and demands to know her goal. She whispers a final confession of affection before he decides to end the charade now. He drives the blade home and silences her voice before she can say another word. This system confirms the kill and he vows to treat her with the same cruelty. A knock at the door signals that the next threat has arrived for his life. He readies a spray bottle and prepares to ambush the next visitor at his door. She calls out for her companion, unaware that she is walking into a lethal trap. He strikes without mercy and sprays her face to neutralize the threat in one move. She collapses to the floor in confusion as the poison takes hold of her senses. He looms over her broken form and ensures she cannot escape his calculated final strike. She asks if he intends to hurt her while fear finally takes root in her. He tells her she is overthinking things and delivers the final blow to her heart. He stands over the fallen bodies and accepts that survival is the only true goal. This system congratulates him on a perfect clearance as he wonders if it is over. A true ending is achieved and the world prepares for a much larger expanded progress. He stands in confusion, questioning what this new reality is as the environment shifts again. A massive arena appears and a voice welcomes everyone to the start of the world game. A mysterious entity calling itself Boss Bunny introduces itself as the chief organizer of this game. He realizes the time is 3 in the afternoon on the day the personal dungeons began. This creature addresses 1 billion human participants and tells them they have the chance to change. Time on their home planet is frozen and the entity warns that death here is real. He wonders if he is being denied the chance to resist as he analyzes his situation. Elderly players are reset to a youthful state, while those with disabilities receive compensation for balance. This game will last 1 year and players earn points to determine their rewards back home. Those who die do not truly vanish but return to space to watch the others. These spectators can write guides or entertain others while they wait to restart the world game. Players can even start a live stream to earn bonuses while they adventure through the deadly trials. This entity confirms that time remains frozen on their home world until the game finally ends. A sinister threat looms as the creature warns that all players will be erased if points are too low, and the crowd reacts with panic and disbelief at the cruel reality ahead. This Boss Bunny explains that the first level relies entirely on individual physical fitness to fight. He is shocked to be named the only person with an SS level rating among millions. He steps forward to speak while wondering why a strange black light isolates him from others. This Boss Bunny demands a speech from the top player on the Jai Star planet. He realizes the microphone is encrypted to hide his identity from the other billion participants. He tells the crowd that since they have no choice, they must survive this game. System rewards flood his vision for his speech, granting him honor and achievement point bonuses. This entity mocks the crowd and declares the welcome ceremony is now officially finished today. A dark energy engulfs everyone as the entity announces the start of the apocalypse world. This players watch in terror as the sky burns and the deadly game finally begins. This world is copied into 50,000 identical instances with 20,000 players in each. His status screen displays his current stats while he prepares for the first real challenge. He finds himself trapped inside a prison cell as the first level of the game. A fellow player panics while gripping the bars and screaming about their sudden confinement here. He observes his surroundings and realizes they lack critical information about this specific game world. 6 people are locked in this room together, suggesting that this trial is team-based. This system offers him a chance to purchase powerful skills using his hard-earned points. He selects the clone skill, which allows him to create a copy of his strength. He decides to spend all his remaining points to boost his combat power immediately now. He acquires the Annihilation skill, which gives him the ability to melt objects upon touch. His spirit stat increases and he gains a passive resistance to mental attacks from others. An arrogant man in a suit demands to know why the others are staying silent. This man claims he is the strongest in the group while analyzing their prison cell. He proposes a calm discussion to establish rapport while secretly planning to dominate the group. A simple man agrees to follow his lead and dubs him the strategist of their team. This arrogant man warns them not to wander off, but he is already planning his escape. He channels his new power to melt the lock on the prison door with blue energy. This metal padlock dissolves under his touch as he breaks free from their initial holding cell. He steps out into the dark hallway, leaving the confused group behind in their locked room. His companions stare in shock at his sudden departure, wondering how he bypassed the heavy bars. This system announces his arrival in the first world as he walks down the silent corridor. He reads the mission details, which demand survival for 15 days to clear the deadly game. He discovers a storage room and uses his backpack to stash supplies for the coming days. A sudden movement catches his attention as he reacts with lightning speed to a surprise attack. A woman pins him to the ground with a knife, but he remains calm under the pressure. He dares her to strike while his hand glows with the power to melt her blade away. Her weapon disintegrates instantly, leaving her terrified as she realizes the massive gap in their strength. He pushes her aside and turns his attention to a television screen playing a looped broadcast. This news report describes a disease outbreak and the use of mushroom extracts for a vaccine. He ignores her questioning and focuses on the screen to gather clues about the world history. This broadcast glitches as the government official delivers a final desperate warning to the dying city. He realizes she followed him out of the cell and decides to test her potential utility. He hands her a flashlight as a gesture of trust, knowing she is no threat to him. He scans the dark laboratory and quickly gathers essential items like a petri dish. A glowing test tube catches his eye as the system identifies a suspicious liquid. He secures the 8th clue while noting that more secrets remain hidden in shadows. His companion grows impatient and asks if he has found anything useful in here. She suddenly stumbles over an unseen obstacle and cries out in frustration and pain. He looms over her with a cold grin and asks if she is prepared. She mocks his attempts at intimidation, but her voice betrays a hint of unease. Her eyes widen in pure terror as she stares at the gruesome sight ahead. A body lies sprawled on the floor, covered in strange and deadly fungal growths. He notes the connection to the mushroom outbreak while she begs him to stop. He leans in closer to inspect the corpse and wonders what caused this transformation. He orders her to close her eyes because he knows what comes next is far worse than anything she has seen yet, so she must not look now. He reaches out and flips the light switch to trigger the next hidden event. A blinding flash fills the room as she screams in confusion at the change. A chilling sound echoes through the air as she realizes a child is laughing. A monstrous girl appears from the darkness and asks if she likes picking mushrooms. He calmly presses the switch again to manipulate the environment and force a change. This room returns to normal, but the tension remains thick between the two survivors. He realizes the light switch is the key to clearing this stage and exits. She claims confidence despite her fear and prepares to exit the dark laboratory space. A sudden system notification interrupts his thoughts as a new player requests to connect. She pauses at the threshold and asks if he intends to follow her out now. He declines the offer to leave and chooses to investigate the remaining mysteries alone instead. This global player count drops as the survival game continues to claim more human lives. He kneels beside the fungal corpse to begin a deeper search for hidden vital clues. 3 distinct pieces of evidence emerge from his scan, confirming his suspicions about the outbreak. Black blood pools around the body and serves as a warning against any direct contact. Fresh white mushrooms sprout from the remains, providing a potential food source for the desperate. A strange crimson mark on the wrist suggests a deeper connection to the infection source. He secures the data and feels the truth behind this deadly stage finally within reach. Survival for 15 days remains the primary objective, and he knows he must find resources. He emerges into a city that appears deceptively normal while the player population steadily declines. Sitting on a park bench, he eats a basic meal and questions the current reality. Cheap mushrooms flood the market despite the reported disease, which defies all logical economic expectations. Players lack local currency, and the system store offers no help for their growing hunger. Normal jobs remain closed to outsiders, leaving them with no legitimate way to earn money. He wonders if violence is the only path forward when a video invitation suddenly appears. This caller demands to know his plan for the crisis without wasting any more time. She mocks his meager existence as he sits in the park and prepares for confrontation. He deflects the concern of his contact by claiming he is just a simple student. She warns him about looter groups hunting lone players for their food and limited resources. He dismisses the danger with a smile and admits he has no money to move. A notification pings as she offers to share her earnings and requests his current location. He declines her help and reveals he has already devised a plan to acquire wealth. A sudden strike from behind forces him to realize that his kindness was a mistake. Her digital avatar screams a warning as he faces a brutal ambush from the shadows. A massive critical hit lands on his health bar as the system registers the damage. This gang members celebrate as their victim stirs and they decide to drag him away. One thug is ordered to handle the disposal while the others watch with cold indifference. He feigns weakness while secretly planning to dismantle their entire operation from the inside out. This leader notes his strange cooperation and assumes he will eventually break like the others. They toast to their success while he follows his captor into the depths of darkness. A high-rank mission triggers to escape this trap and decide the fate of others. His escort eyes him with deep resentment and despises his natural charm and easy confidence. This guard mocks his situation while acknowledging the irony of a predator becoming the prey. He plays the role of a victim and listens to the guard complain about bullying. They arrive at a heavy iron gate where the true nature of the operation hides. He discovers a room full of prisoners being held to farm points for the gang. He smiles at the guard and remarks that relying on brute force is truly unfair. This guard threatens him with violence unless he hands over his points to avoid torture. He complains about the game and his own family while demanding the loot from him. Our protagonist calmly reminds him that the prisoners he hurts have families of their own. This guard panics and claims he has no choice because of the cruel game mechanics. He smiles and tells the guard that it does not matter because he is finished. A lethal strike of energy pierces the forehead of the guard with absolute cold precision. This system registers a fatal wound as his health bar drops to 0 in seconds. He realizes the game does not reward player kills yet, but he claims his prize. He loots a watch strap from the fallen body while leaving the rusted rod behind. His combat power increases as he prepares to confront the rest of the gang members. This terrified prisoners beg him to rescue them from this dark and hopeless prison cell. He tells them the doors are open and they must learn to survive on themselves. He ignores their pleas and walks away because he only cares about the stolen supplies. These prisoners watch him in fear and realize he's just as ruthless as them. They warn a child not to follow him because he is a very dangerous person. He overhears their cowardice and calls them out for blaming those who do not help. He walks into the main room and stands before the remaining gang members with confidence. He mocks them for having so few supplies despite all the people they have captured. This drunk leader stumbles forward and demands to know why his guard did not return. This leader laughs at the death of his subordinate and welcomes the new deadly threat. This gang leader levels his weapon at our protagonist and mocks his foolish confidence. A single gunshot rings out as the leader laughs at the boy for being naive. This body slumps over, but the system reveals this was merely a tactical clone maneuver. This leader stands over the fallen form and demands to hear some final dying words. A cold smile spreads across the face of our protagonist as he prepares his counter. He whispers that the times have changed while golden energy surges around his lethal form. This clone detonates in a blinding flash of light, leaving behind a damaged basic handgun. He winces as the mental toll of losing a clone begins to weigh on him. This remaining thugs panic and beg for mercy while offering all their points to live. He realizes they use torture to extort others and decides to close the distance now. These thugs prepare to ambush him, thinking they can easily overpower him with brute force. He steps back and decides that talking is over because their time has run out. With glowing eyes, he prepares to unleash a devastating strike upon the remaining gang members. He activates a powerful ability to annihilate the opposition before they can even react properly. A wave of pure energy tears through the room and leaves the thugs completely defeated. This system displays a haul of loot including armor and a simple iron rod weapon. He examines the iron rod, which is capable of cracking skulls with enough force applied. A lucky bracelet is added to his inventory as he scans the area for secrets. He acquires a detailed map of the hospital, which will be vital for his escape. With his combat power rising, he turns his gaze toward the final remaining target now. This cornered thug desperately swings a heavy wooden table to create a path for escape. He laughs while sprinting away, thinking his pathetic feint will save him from the inevitable. A chilling silence fills the air as the protagonist stands still and watches him run. He raises a single finger and commands a lethal red butterfly to hunt the target. This insect strikes with terrifying precision, dealing a massive blow that ends the life instantly. Another player watches from the shadows and realizes the true extent of this hidden power. He wonders how such a monster was ever captured and fears for his own survival. A glowing green mantis appears above the palm of the protagonist as he remains calm. He asks if the observer wants to die while the world game countdown ticks down. This tension between the two players reaches a breaking point in the dark hospital corridor. A cold offer to team up is met with a sharp refusal and a final goodbye. This system confirms the mission is complete with an elite rating for his flawless performance. His gear is updated as he prepares to venture out into the dangerous city streets. He reflects on the strange strength of the other player and suspects a hidden lineage. A sudden presence catches his attention and he turns to face a new mysterious arrival. A girl with cat ears approaches him while he holds his iron rod in readiness. She smiles and greets him by name, claiming they have met before in this world. A system notification appears asking for a friend request, and he questions her sudden appearance. She claims her high luck stat is the reason she managed to track him down. He considers the benefits of her company and decides to accept the invitation to team. This mysterious girl Yoyu reveals her profile as she smiles at the powerful protagonist. He notes the system limitations on teammate data while asking if she found any clues. She produces a scrap of paper she scavenged from a utility pole earlier that evening. A recruitment notice for a hospital caregiver role catches his eye as he questions the intent. He immediately identifies the suspicious offer as a trap designed to lure unsuspecting players inside. Recalling her sharp intuition from their school days, he feels confident in her unique ability. Yugyu agrees with his assessment and prepares to share the other findings she has gathered. Sumingan listens closely as she details the disturbing experiences she encountered in the city. He stops her mid-sentence when she mentions eating mushrooms found growing on a corpse. She holds up the strange fungus and claims it is a snack called monkey head cookies. He knocks the food from her hand as the realization of the danger hits him hard. He warns that consuming such tainted items will eventually turn players into those mutated corpses. Terrified by the revelation, she begs him to end her life before the transformation takes hold. He ignores her plea and leads her toward a safe location he has already scouted. They arrive at a quiet building in the suburbs that serves as their temporary shelter. She urges him to hurry inside to escape the biting cold of the night air. A candle flickers out in the dark interior as they step into the strange establishment. An elderly man greets them with a candle and offers a warm welcome to newcomers. This man tries to sell them his special wine, but he flatly refuses the offer. Yu pulls him toward the stairs while noting the entire place feels like a trap. This elderly shopkeeper watches the newcomers with a predatory glint in his eyes. A group of arrogant players enters the building believing they have found a safe haven. He offers them his homemade wine while masking his true intentions behind a friendly smile. He spins a tragic tale of his lost daughter to lower their guard and build trust. These players mock the old man as a simple target for their own looting scheme. Their laughter dies as the wine fumes cause their senses to blur and heads to spin. They collapse to the floor helpless as the shopkeeper stands over them with cold intent. This world game system tracks the dwindling number of players trapped in this lethal city. Yu stares out the window, questioning the true origin of the cheap local mushroom supply. She senses the metallic scent of blood and recalls the grim discovery in the lab. This horrifying truth dawns on her that those medicinal fungi grow directly from human remains. Su Mingan explains how the city exploits outsiders by turning them into living cultivation beds. He confirms that human greed is the real disease consuming this entire urban nightmare zone. He suddenly drifts into a deep sleep, leaving Yu alone to face the encroaching danger. This shopkeeper knocks on the door offering snacks while checking if his prey is unconscious. Yu realizes the overwhelming stench of blood is radiating from the man standing outside. She scans the room for her companion but finds him unresponsive and completely unaware. This old man enters the room holding a plate of tainted mushrooms with sinister delight. He creeps toward the bed, but Yu is already waiting to strike with lethal precision. She delivers a devastating blow to his head as his health points plummet in agony. Yu strikes the shopkeeper with lethal force as his health points plummet to 0. A bowl of mushrooms sits nearby, revealing the grim truth behind the city food supply. Su Mingan receives a system notification confirming the antibody task is now officially marked complete. This shopkeeper lies defeated as the system hints at hidden rewards for this perfect clearance. Yu questions the irony of using human lives to synthesize a vaccine for the masses. Su Mingan notices her strange behavior as she wraps herself tightly in a heavy blanket. She demands a room change, refusing to sleep surrounded by the corpses of the fallen. Yu insists on staying close to him for safety while they prepare for the morning. They arrive at the hospital where she shares her gruesome discovery of the hotel bar. A man and woman approach them offering a suspicious job opportunity involving their young daughter. This couple leads them into a room where the atmosphere turns cold and deeply unsettling. A haunting nursery rhyme echoes as the small girl moves with a strange rhythmic clicking. This parents press them to accept the caregiving role while masking their own dark motives. This girl grins with a sinister expression that chills the air in the silent room. Su Mingan recognizes the melody from the lab and realizes the danger is far deeper. They accept the task to get closer to the truth while the parents depart smiling. Yu takes over the caregiving duties while Su Mingan watches the girl with sharp focus. She reaches out to adjust the bandages on the girl but freezes in sudden shock. Black spots beneath the cloth reveal the girl is already becoming a living mushroom bed. They plan to infiltrate the hospital archives to expose the source of this urban nightmare. Yu questions how Su Mingan discovered the secret location while they were together the whole time. He demonstrates his power by activating a duplication skill that manifests as glowing spectral energy. She realizes his true capability is duplication and recalls his massive speech when the game started. Su Mingan silences her curiosity with a sharp gesture as he keeps his deeper motives hidden. She offers to use her mental manipulation skill for his relief, but he rejects the offer. He suggests they occupy the now ownerless shop to rest while she follows him in silence. Watching him closely, she realizes he is truly different as the global player count slowly drops. A young girl cowers in the shadows, begging the intruder to stay away from her space. A dark silhouette looms over her, promising a treasure while she desperately pleads to go home. This man reveals a sharp blade while insisting she play with him to earn her freedom. Yu wakes up in a cold sweat from the intensity of her own traumatic childhood memory. She gasps for air, realizing that the nightmare she just witnessed was actually a past event. This memory was not a dream because she once used an art knife to fight back. That violent encounter led her to a juvenile detention center where her life changed forever after. She reflects on the moment she discovered her unique ability to experience vivid and precognitive dreams. Everything she sees in her visions manifests in reality, but there is one major exception here. Su Mingan is the only person whose future remains hidden and absent from her prophetic visions. She enters his room at dawn to find him awake and ready to face the day. He demands to know why she is in his room, and she admits to a dream. Su Mingan asks if her dream is important as they prepare to uncover the final truth. Yu dismisses the dream as unimportant while they prepare for the mission ahead. Su Mingan leads the way to the archives as they begin their search. This fifth day marks the beginning of the end for this crumbling world. A sudden surge of dark energy erupts as they face an immediate threat. A monstrous creature lunges from the shadows with a deafening and primal roar. Su Mingan strikes a weak spot with precision and claims his experience points. Another enemy emerges from the darkness to challenge their path through the facility. Yu swings her blade with lethal intent to suppress the encroaching dark force. Surrounded by foes, she stands her ground and prepares to unleash her power. She relies on the strength of her weapon to carve through the opposition. Spectral energy glows around her blade as she prepares for a decisive strike. Her movements blur as she cuts down the enemies with swift and cold. This blade, known as Snow of Heen, shatters illusions and cuts down evil. Yu offers to clear the path as her combat power fluctuates with intensity. 10 minutes later, they reach the archives to uncover the hidden truth here. Su Mingan presents the files that reveal the dark history of this place. These records confirm that Duodio died from domestic violence years ago. In reality, they realize the girl they are protecting has been dead for long. A chilling voice echoes through the room as the atmosphere turns deathly cold. This spectral child appears to invite them into a game of eternal suffering. This world game player count remains massive as the deathly atmosphere within the archives intensifies. A spectral voice taunts them while the child known as Duodio manifests in the shadows. Su Mingan reacts with shock as the reality of their situation shifts into a nightmare. He observes other players lying unconscious in the room while the child mocks their presence. This eerie singing continues to echo through the halls as the victims remain in trance. These players are forced to consume tainted mushrooms that bind them to this cursed place. Duodio perches high above the shelves and continues her chilling song about bones and death. A suffocating stench of blood fills the air as the dark entities begin to surround. This infected players rise with glowing eyes and lose all sense of their former selves. Su Mingan refuses to wait for the transformation to complete and orders a swift retreat. They sprint through the dark corridor knowing they are currently outmatched by this spectral force. More creatures emerge from the gloom to block their escape and force a desperate confrontation. Yu spots a potential exit and urges Su Mingan to move toward the heavy door. They dive into the room and slam the barrier shut against the encroaching mindless horde. This infected claw at the entrance while their eyes burn with a hollow and hungry. Inside the new chamber, they find a laboratory setting that hints at dark medical experiments. Two figures stand before them, and Su Mingan questions what these zombies are doing here. He prepares his weapon and coordinates with Yu to flank the mysterious pair of enemies. They strike with lethal precision to neutralize the threat before the creatures can fully react. This truth is revealed as they recognize the Dean and his wife in these husks. Su Mingan stares at the small corpse, realizing the child is standing right behind him. This spectral entity drifts through the walls, humming a haunting melody of pure dark malice. Duodio grins with glowing eyes and praises their efforts while the air grows heavy cold. She points to the fallen parents, explaining that their tragic end was merely the beginning. This Vice Dean cultivated these mushrooms as a failed vaccine that doomed the entire city. Duodio recalls how her father forced her to consume the bitter fungi against her will. She reveals that while others ate the tasty ones, she suffered through the toxic harvest. Her parents eventually took her life, leaving behind only these blood-stained marks on the wall. She asks if they truly understand her identity as the mastermind behind this twisted game. This system prompts Su Mingan to solve the mystery and secure the perfect clearance route. He notices Yu trembling and realizes her physical state is rapidly deteriorating in this room. Panic sets in as he remembers she consumed the mushroom biscuits and might be infected. He reaches out to grab her, but she recoils while the infection spreads across skin. She hides her blackened arms and insists that she is simply feeling a bit unwell. Duodio watches with amusement, promising to spare the girl if Su Mingan provides the answer. He accuses the child of being the true vessel for the virus from the start. She laughs wildly at his deduction and asks if he is certain about his choice. Her expression shifts to pure rage as she declares his reasoning is completely and utterly. A sudden strike obliterates Yoyu and the system announces the team has been forcefully disbanded. This boss battle begins with a massive power gap and zero chance of immediate survival. This world game system displays the remaining player count as the survival stakes reach a critical point. Su Mingin stands over the remains of the fallen girl while the entity known as Duojuo watches. She mocks him for his incorrect deduction and revels in the chaos of this twisted final stage. Su Mingin remains unnervingly calm despite her taunts as he analyzes the true nature of the threat. He refuses to lash out at the victim while Duojuo continues to question his rigid logical approach. He admits his failure to navigate the timeline correctly and regrets triggering the final question too early. He theorizes that the young girl picking mushrooms might actually be the director and her own father. Duojuo stares back with glowing eyes that hold the secrets of this entire broken simulation and reality. He questions the strange progression of the game and why the path led them here so quickly. A normal player would have followed a standard route through the tavern and the hospital labs first. They should have uncovered documents to learn about Duojuo before ever reaching this final confrontation at all. Instead, they bypassed the zombie blockades and arrived at this location far too early for the game. These clues were far too obvious, and the simple answer was clearly a trap for the players. He realizes this stage was designed for thousands of people, not just 2 individuals from a recruitment. Duojuo smiles as she confirms his suspicion that he has indeed uncovered the truth of the game. She declares that he has lost his chance to escape and must suffer through 10 days of. She leans in close to ask if he has finally accepted the reality of his own impending death. She promises to plant her toxic mushrooms inside his body with the same care she showed others. Su Mingin tells her to do whatever she wants as he prepares a final desperate counter-move. He calls out to the host of the world game demanding an audience as the #1 player. This game host breaks protocol to address the #1 player directly with twisted delight. He revels in the suffering of mortals while questioning if the boy will beg mercy. Su Mingin realizes his unique death rollback skill is the only variable outside their control. He remains stoic and cold while the entity grows frustrated by his lack of fear. This host mocks his attachment to teammates and dares him to plead for their lives. Su Mingin ignores the taunts and calmly prepares to turn the tables with one question. This entity claims the player is responsible for his own failure due to missing clues. He demands to know what price must be paid to secure the safety of Zhai. Su Mingin dissects the nature of the world game as a cruel and distorted show. He exposes how the masses watch the slaughter like a reality show for their entertainment. This common people enjoy the privilege of the organizers while the participants die in terror. This host bristles at the criticism and demands to know if he hates the game. Su Mingin admits he loves the game but warns that its balance issues are terrifying. He refuses to let a perfect system be ruined by such a massive structural crack. He challenges the host to admit the flaw and acknowledge his superior insight and logic. This entity stubbornly denies any imperfections exist within the design of their lethal world game. Su Mingin knows he has baited the host into revealing the secrets of the field. He asks if the ultimate winner gains the power to rule and save the star. This host confirms that absolute perfection is the only path to achieving such a reward. Su Mingin confirms the requirement is a perfect triple S clear across every single world. This final winner reward must include the safety of Zhai Star for all people. This host realizes this player is not just fighting for rank but for total redemption. He is baffled by a human who dares to challenge the very design of the game. Su Mingin stares down the entity and demands a clear answer about the ultimate prize. This host admits he is the most special player to ever grace this lethal stage. Su Mingin smiles with relief as he confirms the path to saving his home world. He knows the game is a trap and the organizers view them as mere toys. Before he falls, he must force the host to reveal the secret to total victory. This entity confirms the goal but warns that failure is already locked in for him. He mocks the player for guessing wrong and claims he will never be the winner. Su Mingin remains calm and acknowledges that his current path is true for now only. This host bristles at the implication that his absolute control is only temporary at best. Su Mingin accepts his fate and drives the blade deep to trigger his hidden power. He is the only variable that exists beyond the chessboard and the reach of organizers. With his final breath, he promises that he will succeed in the next time loop. This world dissolves into a massive time restart as his consciousness shifts back in space. He wakes up in his bed and realizes he has been pulled to a past. This date is day 1 of the apocalypse and he is back at the start. He sees Yue standing there and recognizes this exact moment in his long journey. She stammers in confusion about entering his room while he prepares for the coming storm. Su Mingin gently pats the head of his companion to reassure her of their safety. He shifts the focus away from the archives and urges her to explore the streets. They encounter the first wave of monsters and he strikes them down to gain experience. A system notification confirms his level up and grants him new attribute points and items. This sudden scream of a survivor echoes through the desolate city as the threat grows. A zombie lunges toward them, but Su Mingin remains cold and ready for the kill. He coldly dismisses the idea of saving others because they lack the will to survive. His time is too valuable to waste on those who are destined to be eliminated. When she tries to protest, he cuts her off with a sharp and final command. He admits that only a few specific people hold any real meaning in his world. She looks at him with wide eyes and wonders if she is among those chosen. He ignores her lingering doubt and leads her toward a hospital marked on his map. A stranger suddenly grabs his arm and pulls him into a nearby small supermarket store. This man claims he is saving them from the danger lurking outside on the streets. He tells them to stay inside the shop where it is supposedly safe for now. Other survivors huddle in fear as they realize the world has descended into total chaos. Su Mingan observes the scene and realizes they have been trapped by a well-meaning. A transformed monster bursts into the store and charges directly at him with lethal intent. He drives his weapon through the creature and deals a massive blow to its health. He declares the incident a misunderstanding and prepares to leave the store with his companion. Inside the store, they find themselves surrounded by a group of desperate survivors who are clearly shaken by the unfolding disaster while Su Mingan remains focused on his objective. A woman named Chi Shuang approaches him with gratitude for his intervention in the streets. He maintains a cold distance as she attempts to engage him in further conversation today. Another survivor panics while explaining how a simple errand turned into a fight for survival. This man in charge insists that they are safe here and expects government aid soon. He tries to convince Su Mingan to stay put, but the warrior agrees only temporarily. They are offered small rooms to rest in and Su Mingan accepts the quiet offer. Outside the walls, the city continues to roar with the sounds of the infected horde. Su Mingan knows that clearing this game requires him to infiltrate the most dangerous locations. He decides to deploy a clone to scout the path ahead without risking his life. A sudden noise at the door draws his attention as the tension inside rises again. Chi Shuang returns to offer him a bowl of hot noodles prepared by the boss. She insists that they must support each other to survive this nightmare in the city. This group gathers around the pot while Su Mingan watches them with a calculated gaze. His companion stares at the bowl with visible frustration as she watches the interaction unfold. He explains that their digitized bodies do not require regular meals for basic human survival. Despite his logic, he accepts the food as Chi Shuang presses the bowl toward him. He begins to eat while his companion looks on with an expression of pure annoyance. This system confirms his stamina is fully restored as he prepares for the next phase. Su Mingan questions why his companion has not yet turned into a mindless, infected creature. He inspects her arm for signs of mutation, wondering if the archive room changed her. She reacts with annoyance at his sudden concern while he notices a small red mark. This girl claims that her death does not matter, but he refuses to accept that. He tells her that death is a terrifying prospect and he will not let her die. This store manager interrupts them and tells Su Mingan to scavenge for more food supplies. A survivor praises the boss for his kindness while Su Mingan plans to find items. He decides to gather high-calorie food to prepare for the challenges that lie ahead. A strange object catches his eye while he scans the shelves of the small store. He realizes that this specific bottle is a crucial clue he cannot ignore today. This manager watches him with a suspicious smile and asks what he is looking at. Su Mingan hides the item and decides to abandon this lead for the current moment. He pretends that something fell and the boss tells him to take whatever he wants. This system reveals that this small supermarket is hiding secrets far beyond its simple appearance. 1 hour later, Su Mingan rests while thinking about the mysterious bottle he just found. A sudden knocking at his door interrupts his thoughts as he wonders who is there. He assumes the visitor is Chi Shuang and expects her to respect his private space. This door creaks open and a woman enters his room with a sharp kitchen knife. Su Mingan stares at the intruder in shock as she looms over his sleeping form. This blade flashes in the dim light as the situation turns into a deadly ambush. This intruder reveals her identity as a player and demands to know his mission. Su Mingan blocks the strike and realizes she's using a powerful special skill. He questions the logic of killing fellow players in this brutal survival game setting. With no answers forthcoming, he decides to end the threat before it escalates further. A precise strike lands a fatal blow and the system confirms a massive injury. He claims the fallen player weapon, which is a dagger designed for silent assassinations. No experience points are gained, confirming she was indeed a player in this world. He returns to the store shelves to finally secure the mysterious bottle he found. This liquid inside smells like harsh disinfectant, yet it is marked as a beverage. He links this new clue to the purple liquid and forms a dangerous hypothesis. A strange scratching sound echoes through the store and draws his immediate sharp attention. He tracks the noise to the room where the store manager was staying earlier. Peering through the narrow gap in the door, he prepares for a grim discovery. Inside the room lies a transformed creature that was once a normal human being. A man appears behind him and warns him to stop looking around so recklessly. This creature lets out a deafening roar as the two men stand their ground. Su Mingan engages the monster in close quarters combat to survive the sudden assault. A blade strikes the man who is just standing behind him in the dark. Yu arrives just in time to intercept the attacker with a swift, lethal strike. She shouts a warning as the creature lunges at Su Mingan in the chaos. This strike lands with lethal precision as the mutated zombie falls and experience points surge. Su Mingan stands amidst the carnage while the system warns that zombie poison is spreading. He grips the mysterious bottle tightly, hoping it holds the cure for his failing health. Desperation drives him to consume the liquid, but the toxic debuff remains active within him. A vial of purple liquid rests in his hand as he considers another grim possibility. He urges his companion to amputate his arm to stop the infection from reaching his heart. She questions if the mushrooms are truly a vaccine, but he knows the truth is complex. With a sharp blade, he severs his own limb to survive the encroaching darkness of death. This world game counter drops as countless players perish in this relentless and brutal survival challenge. A dark warning appears on the screen reminding all survivors that abandoning comrades is total failure. He uses healing items to stabilize his condition, while blood loss continues to drain his vitality. This blood bottle provides a temporary reprieve, but the cooldown leaves him vulnerable to further attacks. Empty vials litter the floor as he realizes the desperate surgery was his only real option. Weakness consumes his body and he struggles to maintain his grip on his heavy steel pipe. A man suddenly collapses in the store aisle and screams in terror at the gruesome scene. They watch in confusion as the stranger loses consciousness from the sheer shock of the event. Su Mingin inspects the body and notices strange markings that suggest a much deeper hidden infection. It is clear that the man was never bitten, yet his body is undergoing rapid transformation. He strikes the creature down before it can fully turn and finally understands the true threat. They decide to rest until dawn before heading to the central hospital to find real answers. Su Mingin needs to verify his latest findings as he turns to his loyal companion. He carefully retrieves a discarded red fingernail which might serve as a vital crafting component. A strange white mushroom grows from the fallen body, providing another piece of the puzzle. This system links these clues together, suggesting a hidden connection between the dead and the infected. She points toward the floating broadcast screens that display the ongoing status of the world game. Eliminated players now haunt the forums and have compiled a ranking of the most dangerous survivors. Su Mingin scrolls through the live data to see how the public perceives the top contenders. This list highlights Annie as the current favorite with massive combat power and fire control abilities. She warns him about the high-profile targets while he studies the detailed analysis of rivals. Other names like Iris and the mysterious Lu Shu appear as major threats in this arena. He recognizes the name Lu Shu and wonders if this insect controller is a true threat. She reveals that Su Mingin himself has finally cracked the top 100 list of players. This description labels him a deceptive student with a short-range but lethal black hole ability. He scoffs at the low combat power estimate, knowing his true strength is far more formidable. This chat feed debates his identity, but he chooses to ignore the noise and keep moving. With the intel gathered, he signals that it is time to leave their current hiding spot. They walk through the desolate streets, discussing how simple the first world stage seems to be. He notes that most players could have survived by simply barricading themselves inside a secure building. A sudden roar erupts from the shadows as mutated creatures ambush them in the open street. He strikes with lethal force because hiding away would prevent him from ever gaining true power. With a swift strike, the threat is neutralized as they discuss their current progress, and the long journey ahead to the hospital where they have reached Tier 1 Level 3 while managing their dwindling resources as the food supply has completely run out now, leaving them with no choice but to search for more provisions in this dangerous city. So they head toward a nearby supermarket to restock their empty bags before moving forward. And upon entering, they realize the first floor is barren, forcing them to climb higher. But a sudden roar echoes through the building as a hidden enemy lunges at them, yet he reacts instantly to pierce the creature while the global player count drops again. And a man appears claiming to be a soldier who offers them safety and shelter, while introducing himself as Yang Changsu, who is currently scavenging for supplies with his team. But Su Mingin notices the man is missing an arm, which suggests a past injury that occurred before the game started, making his survival in this world truly impressive indeed. As they exchange greetings, and he introduces himself simply as an ordinary student to him, while the soldier promises that the kindergarten shelter is safe for at least 10 days, and insists that the fighters should handle the danger, but they decline the generous offer, because they are focused on what might be hidden on the upper floors of here, and the soldier tries to persuade them to join his group for their mutual safety. But Su Mingin senses something is wrong as he notices a movement behind the soldier, and shouts a warning just as a mutated zombie prepares to strike the unsuspecting man, who realizes his weapon is useless as he faces his final moments in this fight. This soldier lands a heavy blow but takes a direct hit from the mutated creature. He knows the infection is spreading through his veins and prepares for a final stand. Su Mingin strikes with lethal precision to end the threat before the soldier falls further. His team rushes over in a panic as the reality of the situation sets in deep. They stare at the dark blood staining his arm and fear the worst is happening now. This wound is too high to cut off and the poison is already taking its toll. He is their only hope, and the thought of losing him threatens to break their spirit. He hands over the map and urges them to leave before the darkness consumes the area. They refuse to give up hope because the hospital might hold the cure they desperately need. Su Mingin steps forward with a decisive plan to save the man from his grim fate. He demands the others retreat while he takes a massive risk to stop the spreading virus. This team follows his orders with heavy hearts as they prepare to leave their leader behind. This soldier admits he is beyond saving, but Su Mingin has a different idea in mind. He offers a mysterious vial and forces the soldier to drink the unknown liquid right away. This team watches in total silence, wondering if this gamble will actually work or fail miserably. Su Mingan holds his blade ready just in case the treatment triggers a violent transformation instead. This soldier swallows the dose as everyone waits for the outcome of this dangerous medical experiment. He calmly accepts his fate and tells them to end his life if he turns into something. A violent cough racks his body and black bile spills from his lips onto the floor. His dark veins begin to fade as the infection miraculously retreats from his pale skin now. This emotional weight of the situation breaks as the team clings to their leader. Su Mingan remains detached while confirming his suspicions about the nature of the virus. A single vial of the precious cure is revealed and the team begs for mercy. They plead for the life of their comrade who is rapidly turning into a monster. Tensions flare as the group realizes their savior has no intention of handing it over. Desperation turns into a heated argument about the value of a life versus the mission. They try to appeal to his humanity, but the cold reality of the game looms. A single word from him shuts down their hope as the player count continues dropping. This survivors lash out in anger, claiming he owes them for their past shared struggles. Even the strongest among them begins to waver under the pressure of this impossible choice. Tears stream down her face as she refuses to let her friends die in vain. This atmosphere turns toxic as the group feels betrayed by his calculated and ruthless stance. She accuses him of prioritizing points over the lives of the people he could save. He stares back with icy resolve, declaring that only perfect clearance can redeem this world. This realization hits them that he is playing for stakes they cannot even begin comprehending. A sudden shift in his gaze makes her realize she has crossed a dangerous line. She screams that he is selfish and lacks the experience to understand their deep bond. Driven by grief, she decides that if words fail, she will take the cure forcefully. She lunges forward with a blade in hand while the others watch in total shock. A flash of steel strikes before she can reach him as the final conflict erupts. With a lethal warning, she forces him to halt his advance or face her blade. This team rushes to their fallen comrade as the man cries out in sheer panic. Another survivor snaps under the pressure and charges forward with a desperate and blind rage. A swift and brutal strike silences the attacker before he can even land a blow. Yang Chengsu kneels in submission, offering his life to the man who once saved him. He orders the man to scavenge for supplies and attempt to stabilize the dying woman. Online viewers flood the chat with accusations of cold indifference toward the suffering of others. He ignores the digital noise and commands that the chaotic livestream feed be shut down. He reveals that his broadcast serves a deeper purpose beyond merely collecting extra game points. By documenting his path, he shapes the perception of his journey for all future observers. He explains that the spotlight effect forces the group to focus on his every move. In a world fractured by chaos, a leader must become the singular point of light. This psychological anchor ensures that the will of the masses aligns with his own vision. To guide those lost in despair, he must provide a firm and undeniable common goal. His companion wonders if this calculated performance is intended to deceive a specific hidden enemy. He aims to act as a lighthouse for those drifting through the sea of death. She acknowledges his resolve and confirms that he will indeed become that guiding beacon today. Elsewhere, a powerful combatant unleashes a golden avian construct to incinerate his surrounding foes instantly. He dismisses the display of power as boring while the flames consume the entire area. His admirers cheer for his dominance as he continues to climb the global rankings effortlessly. Amy asks if they should head to the central hospital to find the final result. She notes no player has finished the perfect run yet and they must hurry there. Amy questions who this first player is that everyone keeps talking about today and hushed. She explains it is Su Mingan from the Dragon Country who lost an arm in battle. Amy dismisses the name and says he should just pray he does not die from zombies. This crowd online debates his strength, but Amy claims he never said he was first. They walk through the dark halls as Amy denies being the one who gave the speech. She agrees with the sentiment but insists that person is not necessarily stronger than her. Amy stares ahead with cold resolve, declaring that he will be the only first player. They arrive at the central hospital where the atmosphere grows heavy with a hidden threat. Lu Shu controls his insects with lethal precision while his flames resist all close combat. He holds a glowing butterfly and wonders if he is the legendary first player himself. His halls are silent until he hears ghosts whispering about the big shots competing here. A sudden light blinds him as someone shouts a warning for him to watch out. He turns to see a man standing in the shadows and realizes exactly who it is. This system forces an update and marks Su Mingan as the target for immediate elimination. Lu Shu stares at the coordinates and questions why he must kill this specific player. This system warns of dire consequences if he fails, so he prepares his insect weapon. A single strike from the mantis construct cuts through the air to end the life. This stream erupts in shock as Lu Shu stands over the body of his fallen rival. Even though the kill notification did not sound, he suspects his rival faked his death. He confronts the man and declares that he has a mission to eliminate him now. Outside the hospital walls, the pair senses something is wrong as the ground begins shaking. This man realizes his clone was destroyed and knows that dangerous enemies are inside the building. He insists on handling the threat alone while his companion recovers from a painful knife wound. He hands her a vial, explaining that the mushroom virus requires this specific antidote to survive. He reminds her that the zombie virus needs the purple liquid they used on their ally. He tells her not to worry about the details and to trust him with the mission. They head toward the intensive care unit on the third floor to secure the final result. Eerie laughter echoes through the dark corridors as ghostly handprints appear on the cold concrete walls. A chilling voice mocks him by asking if his beloved little sister is not truly pitiful. This structure begins to crumble around them and he orders her to run for her life. He makes a desperate leap across the widening chasm as the floor collapses into the abyss. His hand reaches out into the darkness, but he misses his footing and starts to fall. Just as he slips away, a hand grips his arm tightly to stop his fatal descent. He looks up to see her holding him steady while the floor beneath her feet cracks. This stone ledge gives way under her weight as she makes a final choice to save. She tells him to stay alive as she lets go of his arm to prevent falling. His fingers scrape against the edge of the crumbling concrete as he tries to hold on. He watches in horror as she plummets into the deep void below, calling out her name. A massive butterfly creature emerges from the darkness to catch the falling girl in midair. This rival watches from above and claims he saved her to settle his past debt. He questions why the hospital is reacting so violently to the presence of his companion. This man realizes the strange purple liquid in his bag is triggering this hostile response. His rival begs for forgiveness while offering the girl as a peace offering for survival. He ignores the plea and carries the unconscious girl away to keep her safe now. This rival warns that the third floor holds the final clue but remains extremely dangerous. He asks if the man truly wants a perfect clearance despite the high suicidal risk. This rival offers to escort him out safely once he finishes exploring the second floor. He acknowledges the offer, but his focus shifts to the unresponsive girl on his back. This impact of the fall has left her unconscious and he fears for her life. He ignores the warnings and continues climbing the stairs toward the deadly third floor zone. This rival watches him go and wonders why he would risk everything without a weapon. He pushes forward into the gloom while carrying the weight of his injured companion alone. A haunting voice calls out to him from the shadows asking for her big brother. A ghostly girl appears on the landing and mocks him for seeking the final clue. He demands that she state her terms so he can secure the reward he needs. She proposes a deadly game of chess where their own lives serve as the pieces. This system confirms the start of the world chessboard instance with high stakes for victory. This girl smiles with glowing eyes and asks if he is strong enough to survive. This system announces his appointment as the red side king for the upcoming deadly match. A massive chessboard manifests in the void as the system begins selecting his rival team. Humanity faces total extinction as alien civilizations treat our entire world like a simple game. A group of survivors debates whether to hunt down the mysterious girl in the red dress. Hubert insists they must prioritize gathering all the hospital clues to solve this world mystery. One man yawns in boredom, finding the current apocalypse far too easy for his own taste. A woman warns him not to judge others by his own high standards of personal strength. He urges his team to hurry before their rivals collect the remaining clues and win first. They mock the situation while the ghostly girl watches them from the shadows with dark intent. This girl appears and notes that they seem far more powerful than the other city residents. He scoffs at her observation and demands she stop stating the obvious to his entire team. Her eyes glow with hunger as she invites them to play a game using their lives. This system initiates the world chessboard instance and marks the start of this dangerous side quest. She reveals her tragic past of being ignored and never taught the rules of the game. Her expression shifts into a twisted smile as she decides that none of that matters now. She dances across the board and demands they use their own lives as the playing pieces. This match is confirmed and the system assigns positions to every member of the opposing team. A rival player recognizes his opponent and vows to teach him a lesson in this match. This system begins to detail the complex rules governing this high-stakes game of mortal chess. Each turn allows one piece to move and attack based on the combat power of players. This king piece is the core because if the king falls, the entire game ends in total failure. This knight provides attack bonuses and long movement, but it cannot jump over pieces to strike the king directly. A guard has limited range and movement, but once they reach an enemy, they can strike any piece nearby. This tower possesses long range and can strike any enemy, but it is blocked from the king by the queen. This bishop serves as a healer and can restore the health of any teammate during their own designated turn. This queen has long range and magic attacks plus a one-time sacrifice ability to fully buff an ally. Every action from moving to attacking consumes a turn, and all pieces must obey the king without any refusal. While most teams would fight over the king role, he trusts his own team to follow his lead perfectly. Two special rules exist where the game becomes a direct battle if only kings remain or if a stalemate occurs. He assigns his team their roles as bishop, queen, knight, and tower to prepare for the coming combat phase. This opposing leader mocks the situation and tells his partner that this match will be an easy victory today. He carries his companion and notes that the enemy leader seems far too confident for his own good now. This rival team laughs at the Dragon Nation boy and claims he does not know who he is facing. She admires his courage and suggests that if he admits his arrogance, she might be open to deeper interaction. She laughs off her own taunts and agrees to stop because her partner is starting to get quite annoyed. She blows a kiss and wishes him luck while billions of viewers watch the performance on their global screens. This stream chat mocks the disabled man for being matched against a top-ranked team in such unfair conditions. He remembers his opening ceremony speech and realizes he must get used to the weight of these many gazes. Thrust into the spotlight against the legendary first player Annie, he finds himself at the center of attention now. He stares down his opponents with cold resolve and declares that it is time for the match to begin. This world game interface pulses with the massive count of remaining players across the board. Knight Hands watches his opponent with growing unease as the tension in the arena rises. He commands his knight to advance forward and seize the initiative in this deadly match. Su Mingyan raises his blade high to appoint his own piece and counter the enemy move. A spectral clone manifests on the field and takes the role of a defensive guard unit. He knows the odds are against him, but a stalemate could be his only path forward. This rival leader scoffs at the summon and prepares to crush the piece with one strike. Su Mingyan orders his guard to intercept the enemy knight and hold the line at all. He calculates the turn-based flow, knowing he can block attacks even without taking an action. A massive clash erupts as the guard suppresses the knight with a staggering 500 damage. This knight reels back in shock, wondering how such power could exist at this early stage. His leader calls for a retreat, realizing the danger of losing a piece in this game. Hands refuses to abandon his comrade because losing a piece means certain death for the player. This audience watches in disbelief as the damage numbers confirm the sheer strength of the guard. Doubts plague the enemy ranks as they realize they have severely underestimated their opponent this time. Su Mingyan reveals his clone is an evolving skill tied directly to his own mental stats. His true strength lies in this fearless construct, though he cannot attack while controlling the unit. He commands the guard to advance again, putting immense pressure on the rival team once more. This enemy leader plans to ignore the clone and strike the king directly to end it. He orders his tower to fire upon the king and finish the match in one blow. This enemy tower unleashes a devastating magical blast aimed directly at the king piece. Su Mingyan tanks the hit as his mental stats mitigate the damage to 120. His opponent calculates the low health and believes victory is certain within 5 short turns. Ignoring the pain, Su Mingyan commands his spectral guard to advance and hold the line. He knows this is a kill the king game and the guard is his only hope. This enemy queen and other pieces threaten to overwhelm him if he does not act fast. Healing would waste precious turns, so he commits everything to the guard for this final push. A hidden rule triggers upon a stalemate and he must force that outcome to survive. This rival leader orders the tower to strike again and finish the match right now. Another blast slams into Su Mingyan, dropping his health to a critical 260 points. He remains calm and orders the guard to advance once more toward the enemy ranks. This tower fires a third time with lethal intent to shatter his remaining defenses for good. A critical hit lands and his health plummets to 130 as panic sets in. His livestream chat is in total chaos, with fans arguing over his desperate final stand. He watches the crowd and realizes how easily people crack under the stress of this game. They treat his life like a show and attack those who do not fit their narrative. These spectators use moral judgment as a weapon while he fights to save them all. He ignores the noise and commands the guard to advance deep into the enemy territory. This Bishop Hubert freezes in terror as the guard closes the distance to his position. Hubert knows he is defenseless and realizes the tower might kill Su Mingyan next turn. Su Mingyan knows the next strike from the tower might not be a critical hit. His opponent orders the bishop to fall back to preserve their own pieces from harm. Ignoring the tactical retreat, Su Mingyan commands his spectral guard to advance once more today. This enemy leader panics and screams for the queen to retreat from the front lines. Su Mingyan keeps his focus locked on the guard as he prepares for the next. This guard marches forward across the board while the enemy leader watches in cold silence. Annie mocks his opponent and claims victory is certain even if the tower misses now. With absolute confidence, Annie points his finger and orders the tower to attack the king. A surge of energy erupts as the tower lands another devastating critical strike on him. This chat explodes in disbelief as the system registers yet another massive hit against him. Suddenly, his teammate Yu enters the fray to assume the role of the queen piece. Annie realizes the tower must target the queen before it can strike at the king. Yu intercepts the lethal blast but takes 300 points of damage to her health. Su Mingyan knows she is defenseless against magic because she has no points in stats. He checks on her and realizes they are both in the exact same desperate situation. They share a grim smile, knowing that both of them are one-hit kills now. Annie watches them in confusion, wondering how she could possibly join the battle right now. Su Mingyan seizes the opening and orders the guard to attack the enemy king directly. This king cannot attack back and must rely on his own defenses to survive. Annie panics as his simple game turns into a nightmare he cannot control anymore. Annie screams in agony as the system logs massive damage and a severed limb injury. Yu rushes toward him in a panic while the battlefield burns with intense energy. The spectators watch in shock as Annie breaks down crying from the sheer physical pain. Yu tries to soothe his suffering while promising that recovery is possible after the match. Su Mingyan recalls the stoic resolve of his own past injuries compared to this display. Desperate to end the torture, Annie commands the tower to strike at the enemy king. He gasps through the pain and orders the final blow to secure his own survival. Su Minggan realizes the tower cannot bypass the queen piece to reach his king piece. He knows that killing Yo-Yu is the only way to clear the path for victory. Annie hesitates because he fears the lethal retaliation that will surely follow his next move. He stares at Su Minggan and demands to know the true identity of his opponent. Su Minggan reflects on how the game forces everyone to become a weakling for power. Annie orders his king to fall back as he struggles to maintain his composure now. Su Minggan feels a sense of relief knowing that his teammate is currently safe here. He commands his spectral guard to advance while Annie desperately orders his king to retreat. Both sides reach a tense stalemate as the livestream audience watches in absolute heavy silence. Yo-Yu tells Su Minggan to sacrifice her and slay the king to achieve perfect clearance. She reminds him that he is the first player and cannot stop his progress now. This chat explodes with chaotic energy as the world watches this pivotal moment unfold live. Su Minggan acknowledges that Yo-Yu shares his aspirations and will not deviate from the goal. A sudden realization hits as the hidden rule of the game is finally brought forward. This rabbit entity cackles with delight while the audience watches the chaos unfold in real. A life-or-death duel is now the center of attention for every single spectator watching. This loser will lose everything including their strength and even their closest companions in this match. A stalemate is an unsightly end for such a brilliant clash of intellect and raw power. This world chessboard reveals its hidden rule to force the game into a much bloodier conclusion. A notification echoes across the arena as the hidden rule of the world chessboard is activated. Any surviving piece may now sacrifice itself to attack the king or block an enemy strike. This brutal rule forces both sides to treat their own teammates as expendable tools for victory. This knight Hans is singled out as the primary target for this desperate new tactical maneuver. Hans stands ready as the knight piece waiting for the command that will seal his fate. This order is given to sacrifice knight Hans to launch a direct attack on the king. Blue energy surges around Hans as he prepares to execute the final move of his life. A powerful strike erupts across the board as the sacrifice is put into immediate deadly motion. Su Minggan reacts instantly by ordering his clone to sacrifice itself and block the incoming strike. These two forces collide in a massive explosion of fire and light that shakes the board. This tower piecert is commanded to sacrifice itself to strike at the red king piece. This will to survive has fully ignited as the players stop hesitating to sacrifice their allies. Mana levels recover, allowing for the summoning of more clones to maintain the defensive line now. Another clone is sacrificed to block the attack from the tower piece and save the king. This mental toll of controlling clones that share his agony is becoming truly unbearable now. He locks eyes with Hubert as the bishop prepares to make his final desperate move. With a calm smile, the bishop offers his life to ensure the team achieves victory. This command is issued to sacrifice Hubert and launch a lethal strike at the king. Blue energy erupts as the bishop channels his remaining power into a final devastating attack. Su Minggan summons his last available clone to intercept the incoming blast and save himself. This collision of forces creates a shockwave of pain that ripples through his very soul. Annie watches as the board demands even more sacrifices to keep the game moving forward. With no other options left, he orders the sacrifice of Queen Jolia to survive longer. A sharp blade of energy cuts across the board to strike at the enemy king. This pressure mounts as he is forced to make a decision that will decide everything. She smiles and accepts her fate as the dawn of a new sacrifice begins now. This game punishes those who seek perfection by trapping them in a cycle of hell. He reaches the brink of collapse as his power level hits a critical breaking point. A sudden strike lands and everything goes dark as he falls in the brutal arena. This world shifts as the death reboot activates to pull him back from the brink. Time resets to a moment where Yo-Yu has already taken her place as the queen. He realizes the save point is locked in a position that guarantees his immediate defeat. Every tactical path leads to a dead end as he calculates the odds of survival. This specific moment is a trap designed to force him into an impossible losing scenario. This blue light from Jolia is closing in and he must act right now. She looks at him with a gentle smile and promises a brand new future. Death is not the end but a process she accepts to help him move forward. He feels trapped in a loop where every path leads to her inevitable tragic end. Countless reboots have failed to provide a breakthrough and he questions if this is final. She reminds him of their past when she was silent and watched him play games. Those old pixel games were brutal, but she always found comfort in his steady presence. She recalls hiding under a tower while he dominated the battlefield with his tactical skill. Even when she failed the flying game, he was always there to rescue her soul. She admits she always lost but loved watching him win even in this deadly game. She was poisoned from the start and now she chooses to repay him with sacrifice. He knows he must win because her life is tied to the outcome of battle. Death Reboot is not a golden cheat but a heavy burden he must carry alone. She points toward victory as the flames of her final sacrifice begin to rise high. She calls him her first player as she prepares to give everything for his success. This team disbands as she falls and her power surges into him for one strike. He is bathed in her brilliance while his obsession traps him in this dark cycle. Her sacrifice boosts his attributes and grants him the power to break through the wall. He channels the energy into a devastating slash that tears across the entire game board. This strike lands with massive force and he shatters the enemy defense in one blow. This two kings stand locked in a final confrontation as their health pools dwindle down. With the board cleared of all other pieces, the rules dissolve into pure brutal combat. Aini relies on his ranged magic to keep distance, but his opponent refuses to retreat. Su Mingan charges straight through the incoming torrent of blue energy with his blade drawn. Frustrated by the failure of his spells, Aini demands a close-quarters clash of power. He floods the arena with searing flames, hoping to melt the steel of his enemy. Su Mingan ignores the agony of the heat and closes the gap with terrifying speed. His flames lash out, but he cuts through the magical barrier with a single motion. Aini watches in horror as his opponent uses his own hand to shield the blade. A devastating strike lands true, and the system registers the lethal damage to his health. As his life fades, Aini realizes he was fighting a man who has transcended humanity. This victor stands alone amidst the wreckage of the board as the world begins shifting. This system confirms the world chessboard is cleared and begins calculating the final score. Humanity proves its resilience by defying the high-dimensional rules and forging a new path. An elite rating is granted along with the secret file that holds the ultimate truth. He claims the Aurora Ring, a powerful artifact that carries the weight of a curse. Leveling up grants him the scepter of the world while his body begins to heal. This system repairs the damage he sustained during the fight and restores his physical form. He inspects his hand in silence, knowing the cost of his victory was paid in full. Now he must uncover the secrets hidden within the file to change the coming fate. This system reveals the stats of the Snow of Shanae, a powerful growth tier blade. He secures the weapon and prepares to leave the library with his new lethal tool. Wrapping the steel in leather, he conceals the edge to avoid drawing unnecessary hostile attention. With the sword strapped to his back, he turns away from the archives to depart. He pauses to examine a mysterious file that confirms his suspicions about the current reality. New data links his theories together, granting him the final deduction for a perfect run. His path is set toward the central hospital, where the final secrets await his arrival. A familiar face greets him on the stairs, having already scouted the dangerous second floor. This observer notes the strange transformation of his gear and the return of his arm. An offer of escort is extended, but the air between the two men remains tense. He rejects the help, citing past betrayals, and warns the other player to stay back. A silent message of respect and hope follows him as he descends into the dark. Every step he takes carries the weight of a leader who must guide the lost. He stares into the void, determined to become the beacon that saves this broken world. This doubter watches from above, questioning if he truly has the strength to lead humanity. He arrives at the hospital gates, where the sounds of suffering echo through the halls. Coughing from the strain, he allocates his attribute points to boost his mental spirit power. A clone manifests with combat power far exceeding the strongest fighters in the known world. This construct swings a heavy fire axe through the undead horde with absolute lethal precision. Clearing 5 floors in a single sweep, he carves a path through the hospital nightmare. This hospital is cleared, and he ascends to a new level of power as a player. A survivor calls out his name from the shadows, and he turns to face them. This man trembles in his presence, but he remains cold and distant regarding his own status. His intense gaze unnerves the soldier, who feels like he is being judged by a superior. This survivor asks a desperate question about the purple antidote he found within the hospital walls. He tosses the precious item to the man without hesitation, showing total indifference to the value. This tension vanishes as he gives away the rare cure like it is nothing at all. This soldier wonders if he has already solved the mystery or if everyone else is dead. He walks through the halls while the roars of the undead echo in the dark distance. A sealed roller door blocks his path, and he knows someone is hiding inside the room. He recalls his previous failed attempt here and the tragic fate of the director and wife. A woman speaks from behind the metal barrier, and he prepares for a potential new encounter. She pleads for him to open the door after being trapped for such a long time. He wonders if she is unaware of the truth and why she survived this long alone. This world game continues to track the remaining souls as humanity faces its own dark reflection. This door rises to reveal a woman who greets him with a look of pure relief. She claims the room is empty, but he knows the truth of what hides in shadows. Dark manifestations surround her as he steps into the room to confront the hidden threat. Duoju appears with a sinister smile and mocks him for finally arriving at this final stage. She tells her twisted story while watching him with eyes that hide a deep, dark secret. This sinister girl demands he solve the mystery of the little girl picking mushrooms. He enters the perfect clearance route as the system links all his gathered clues. A survivor watches in shock as this terrifying entity confronts him within the room. He explains how the virus mutated the city and turned people into a culture. 2 distinct liquids emerge as the key to curing the zombie and fungal infections. He deduces that the apocalypse was triggered by multiple viral strains requiring specific vaccines. This girl smiles with dark intent while questioning the existence of these multiple cures. He reveals that the fungal virus hides in the body and requires a corpse. She challenges him to explain why she did not mutate during the initial outbreak. Sunlight acts as a natural inhibitor for the fungus, and he confirms his theory. This purple liquid is the master vaccine capable of neutralizing both deadly viral threats. His reasoning progress hits 50% as the system confirms his brilliant logical deduction. She praises his intellect but suggests the purple antidote is actually his own blood. A flash of dark eyes reveals her hidden agenda as she questions his biology. He presents the complex file to expose the truth behind her tragic past life. These records show her transformation from a normal girl into a vessel of death. He accuses the director of harvesting her body to create the ultimate survival cure. A surgical knife was used to extract the resistance from her during the operation. This director is the true monster behind the title of the little girl legend. This survivor realizes the demon she feared was actually the most innocent victim here. He confronts the girl with the grim reality of her own tragic and violent end. She did not die from simple abuse but was sacrificed by her father on the table. This girl is no longer a victim but has been reborn as a vessel of malice. Her parents turned into monsters after failing to synthesize a vaccine from her own blood. This system confirms his deduction that the director is responsible for the death of his daughter. She admits with a chilling smile that killing her parents was a fair act of revenge. He agrees that the true villain behind this entire nightmare is the director of the facility. This survivor watches in horror as the truth of this broken family comes to light now. This director chose to sacrifice his own child to satisfy the desperate demands of the world. He argues that while the act was cruel, the sacrifice was a necessary step for progress. She counters that the director failed and his sacrifice resulted in nothing but total ruin today. If the director had succeeded, the world would be vibrant and full of life right now. He wonders if she would still hold such sympathy if the girl were not a legend. Elsewhere, the cunning player Mizushima Kawasora races toward the hospital to solve the mystery herself. This audience urges her to move faster as she falls behind in the intense deduction race. She struggles to find the final piece of the puzzle regarding the cause of death here. She realizes the viewers are obsessed with the first player who is already ahead of her. She rejects the fame and the spotlight, preferring to work in the shadows of this game. A sudden flash of insight gives her the final clue needed to secure a potential victory. This system announces that Su Mingan has achieved the perfect clearance route to win the game. Frustration boils over as she realizes the goal was within her reach but slipped away. He stands firm in the silence, arguing that moral absolutes are meaningless in this broken world. This director harbored a fatal bias, choosing to save his daughter while he succumbed to infection. Every sacrifice carries a heavy cost, yet he questions if the greater good justifies such cruelty. This system confirms his deduction is flawless as the final piece of the dark puzzle clicks. She stares back with hollow eyes, wondering why he refuses to offer her any genuine sympathy. He remains cold and detached, declaring that sympathy is a useless emotion in their current reality. Despite his harsh words, she acknowledges his brilliance and congratulates him on achieving the peace route. This system announces a perfect clearance as the countdown to the end of the world begins. He secures a rare item that can bind a dying soul as an eternal companion forever. A vital DNA potion is added to his inventory to synthesize the long-awaited zombie vaccine. Honor points flood his status as the world recognizes him as the first player to succeed. He chooses to broadcast his victory to every other player currently trapped in this dying world. Billions of lives witness the announcement as his name is etched into the history of success. A lone observer watches the skyline and finally understands the true nature of the distant lighthouse. He reflects on his own path, choosing to fight for justice while standing in the light. Although he doubts the methods of the first player, he feels a strange pull toward him. This girl stands in the shadows, watching him with an unreadable expression that hides her intent. She calls out to him with a sudden demand that halts his departure from the room. As a final reward for his perfect performance, she offers him the vial of perfect antidote. He holds the vial and declares that the past is already in the past. When she asks if he still has someone to save, he coldly says no one. This girl watches him in silence as the weight of his final decision settles in. She warns him that the game is split, but he has already taken the prize. He offers a brief acknowledgement and thanks her before turning to walk away alone. She calls out for him to wait, but he continues his steady path forward now. Her expression shifts as she realizes the true scale of the fire consuming the room. Blazing flames erupt around her as the reality of her situation begins to burn bright. A blinding flash of light fills the space as the final sequence triggers in full. She stands amidst the inferno as the heat intensifies and the world begins to fade. Her gaze locks onto the destruction as she remembers the faces of her lost parents. She whispers for her dad while looking at the bodies lying still in the light. Her bare feet step through the embers as she calls out for her mother now. This girl reaches out toward the flames as her tragic story reaches its burning end. This system confirms the apocalypse chapter is complete and the goal was achieved successfully today. It notes the innocent girl turned into evil and asks if she can be redeemed. He holds the DNA potions and knows he can finally stop the fear of zombies. A notification chimes as the system reveals that other ending routes were possible for him. One route involved the research institute and extracting data from the brains of the director. Another path focused on the cemetery and resolving the deep resentment held by the girl. Having secured the perfect ending, he realizes that other branching paths remain unexplored and untapped. A sudden voice breaks his concentration as he prepares to leave the desolate urban zone. This woman he rescued approaches him with gratitude and offers to repay his life-saving. He points directly at her sidearm and demands the weapon as his only requested payment. She recoils in shock and protests that he is far too young to handle such power. He stares her down and asks if age has any relevance to the utility of steel. Realizing his cold determination, she finally understands that he intends to claim her handgun now. She hands over the weapon and watches as he accepts the cold metal with ease. This system confirms the acquisition of a green-grade firearm despite his lack of training. He questions her proficiency while noting that he has practiced with real firearms before today. A heavy silence hangs between them as she processes his unexpected knowledge of modern weaponry. She wonders if he is truly an ordinary student while urging herself to teach him. Her internal monologue questions how someone so capable could remain so mysterious and seemingly average. She decides to offer her expertise and asks if he wants her to teach him. She demonstrates the proper shooting stance by keeping her feet shoulder-width apart and angled. She explains the nuances of dynamic scanning and how to properly grip the heavy frame. She encourages him to practice and reminds him that missing targets is a normal process. He ignores the advice and fires a single shot with perfect aim at the target. This bullet strikes true and destroys the head of the approaching threat in one motion. This system confirms his mastery of basic firearms as his combat power rises once again. This woman watches him with awe, believing she has encountered a rare genius in this world. She wonders if he belongs to a hidden elite clan because his skill is truly terrifying. He dismisses her praise as mere luck while preparing to end their brief and strange alliance. Desperate to survive the apocalypse, she begs him to let her stay close for her protection. He pauses and coldly commands her to follow him if she wants to keep on living. They arrive at a quiet park where the air is thick with a strange, lingering energy. He reflects on his own power as the forum debates the strength of his lethal clone. They sit together on a bench in silence while he contemplates the next phase of survival. She struggles to find the right words to express her gratitude for his continued cold protection. He tells her to stay put and warns her not to let anyone approach his position. She notices the area is completely cleared of threats and realizes his clone did the work. Far away in a kindergarten shelter, survivors struggle under the harsh rule of a new team. Despair fills the air as the weak are left to suffer in rooms without any hope. This arrival of Yang and his men brings a small amount of food to the camp. Hungry survivors rush forward hoping to finally receive a meal after days of starving in fear. Yang orders an even distribution of supplies to maintain order despite the lack of enough food. A mother begs for extra rations for her child, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. Yang explains that resources are scarce and he cannot show favoritism to anyone in need. A woman breaks down in tears, wishing she could escape this nightmare and return to safety. A young girl asks when her mother will return from the room where the infected wait. This weight of the apocalypse presses down as he stares into the dark abyss. Billions of lives are gone and the remaining player count continues to plummet daily. He knows that even in this hell, people will cling to life at any cost. Holding the glowing vial, he offers a glimmer of hope to the starving, desperate survivors. His true goal is to stabilize the camp and keep their fragile morale from shattering. But the eyes of the crowd shift as raw greed replaces their initial hollow fear. A woman screams for the medicine to save her companion who is already long gone. He knows the truth that her friend was lost to the infection days ago already. Another child begs for her mother to be saved by the miracle in his hand. Silence hangs heavy as he weighs the value of a single dose against their pleas. He decides to give the vial to a scientist who might actually change their fate. A woman snaps and lashes out at the absurdity of this cruel alien survival game. She demands they stop waiting and use their remaining strength to seize the food supply. His patience wears thin as he realizes the mob is turning against his leadership now. He sighs, knowing his limited power cannot save everyone from their own desperate human nature. A soldier by trade, he struggles to command this chaotic group of terrified civilian survivors. Without warning, a blunt weapon strikes him from behind as the crowd finally turns violent. This betrayal stings, but he remains focused on the chaos erupting all around his position. He shouts for order, but his voice is drowned out by the roar of greed. A man snatches the precious vial and laughs as he claims the cure for himself. A heavy blow strikes him from behind as the precious vial flies into the air. He catches the glowing purple cure with a steady hand amidst the sudden violent chaos. He stands tall with his axe and asks if these people are even worth saving. This soldier insists that every citizen deserves protection and he has a duty to them. He accepts this answer and hands the vial over to the soldier for safekeeping now. He tells the soldier to guard the shelter while he goes to handle the threat. This soldier thanks him and rushes off to save his companion, who is named Chin. He has already cleared the zombies outside, making the shelter the safest place to be. This survivors realize he is the first player and beg him to scavenge for them. He tells them the gate is clear and they should have the courage to survive. A woman pleads for his help, claiming they have no strength left to go outside. They argue that as citizens of the nation, they deserve his support in the apocalypse. This crowd swarms him, begging for the purple antidote to save their own dying kin. He drops a sharp blade at their feet and demands a test of their resolve. He declares that anyone who stabs their own palm will earn the life-saving cure. This woman screams that he is insane, but he insists this is a generous offer. He mocks their desperation, noting that sacrificing a palm is a bargain for a life. He tells them this is an exam to prove they actually deserve to live today. This woman recoils in terror, realizing that he is not a normal person at all. This blade glints in the light as the survivors face a choice of blood sacrifice. This global death toll rises as the system updates the count of remaining human survivors.